Welcome to PrepsNet Coach Speak with Mortimer Jordan, head basketball coach Jason Johnsey. Here's your host, Aubrey Johnson.
Happy New Year, Coach.
Happy New Year.
Absolutely. So we've had a 2-week holiday hiatus. There's a lot of games to talk to, so let's get right to it.
All right.
The first one was Moody. You beat them. And by the way, we'll do this in kind of a wrap-up format since there were so many games played in those few weeks there. First one was Moody. You beat them. Then on December 7th, on the 14th, you played in the Randy Jones Classic. You beat Addison in that game. That was played up in West Point High School. And then on the 16th, you played Pelham. Unfortunately, lost to that one. Kind of give us a wrap-up of those three games.
Yeah, and those couple games that we won right there, Moody was just getting their kids back from football, and everybody's not integrated in, and you can check their scores and see how much better they're playing now once they've got all their guys ready to go. We were fortunate enough to win that game at their place, come back a day or so later, and then hit Addison at West Point.
Right.
And then played really well that Saturday up there in the Randy Jones Classic, and really appreciate Coach Vos inviting us up and allowing us to play up there. It's a great experience for us and for a good cause as well. And then we go to Pelham right before we head to Orange Beach for our pre-Christmas tournament, and just run into a buzzsaw. They shot it really well from three. We had some unfortunate turnovers during the game too, and ended up dropping that one by 15 or 19 or so.
Right, got it. So then you made it to the tournament down at Orange Beach. The first team that you played there was Baker. You lost that one kind of a lot, double digits.
Sure.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, that's one of the top teams in 7A. They'll be competing for a Final Four spot out of the South region. So really no shame in that. Whenever you're playing,
not at all.
Playing really talented teams, they're really well coached, and they've been together for years, and got some extremely athletic and talented kids that'll be playing at the next level.
Right. And these teams came from all over the state. Baker from Mobile. The next one you played is Sparkman out of Huntsville. You lost to them by 5. How did that game go?
Well, we got off to a real slow start against them to begin with, and dug a little bit of a hole, battled back, took the lead late into the third quarter, into the fourth quarter, and we had a 1 or a 2 point lead, and then just hit a scoring drought there in the fourth quarter. Pretty much the last half of the fourth quarter, I'm not sure if we scored a point, and they put 7 up, and we ended up dropping that one by 5. So played pretty well.
Okay.
Needed to rebound just a little bit better at times to secure that victory, and put the ball in the basket a little bit on the last half of the fourth quarter, and we were pretty good. I was really pleased with the effort that we did. We shot it okay as well. We rebounded it really well for the most part for the entire game. Just come up a little bit short. Like you said, there's no shame. You've got 2 giant 7A schools that you're playing that are talented teams that play really tough schedules too.
Yeah.
Even though that second game was a loss, we felt like that we played well enough to win.
Yeah, good deal. Well, we've got a couple more games to talk about before we get to this coming week, and we're going to do that right after this break.
PrepsNet Coach Speak with Mortimer Jordan High School head basketball coach Jason Johnsey is proudly sponsored by Campus Traditions. Go Blue Devils!
All right, so we're back. To wrap up the tournament news, you beat Orange Beach, the last game that you had there. Tell us a little bit.
Yes, sir. It was first half was just back and forth, and we ended up, getting in a little bit of a deficit there in the second half. We take the lead about midway through the third or so, and then again, it's a 1 point lead tied, 1 point lead tied, 2 point lead tied, and then we were able to just pull away late with a couple of free throws to secure the victory. And what was really important about that is, you're coming off 2 losses. You're down in kind of a destination trip for the kids and the parents that came with us too. But you've really feel like that you could play in a whole bunch of different ranges of scores. Like that was a really low-scoring game, especially for us, 47-41.
Wow.
So not only can you win a game in the 40s, but you can also hold a team to the low 40s in points too.
Right.
So it was really a positive for our kids, knowing that, all right, so this is what we can do defensively if we sit down and guard.
Right.
Make sure that we block out and don't give second shots. You can keep people to low point totals, and it kind of increases your margin of error in order that you need to win. As far as, if we're not having a great shooting night, we know that we can keep people in the 40s and we can score 51 points or whatever and win the ball game.
Good deal. So tell us about some of the players that played well over the past couple of weeks.
Tanner Chandler during the tournament, he went 33 and I think 11 one game. He had 14 rebounds in another game. And
wow.
For the 3-game span, he averaged 25 points and just over 10 rebounds a game. So he made the all-tournament team.
Oh, good.
Played extremely well, rebounded the ball well. You had a couple of different kids in each of those games that steps up. We've got 5 or 6 kids who can, score 12, 15 points anytime we go out there. So it's nice that, we've got a handful of kids that can get hot from 3. We've got a handful of kids that are always going to be driving to the basket, looking to dish for kids, and really unselfish players, knowing that it could be your day any game that we played where you pop off for 12 or 15 points.
Right. Good deal. So that brings us up to last Friday. You played Gardendale, and this was a very close game. You end up beating them 72-70. Tell us about that night.
We were lucky. We got off to a really good start, played some good defense early on, rebounded the basketball, probably up 6 or 7 at the maybe 8 at the end of the first, and then added another 4 or 5 before halftime. I think we were up 13 at half.
Wow.
Played okay for the first half of the third quarter. They start roaring back, started hitting some shots. We turned the ball over a little too much. And then by the time you get, 2 or 3 minutes into the fourth quarter, it's a tie ball game. We're in a dogfight.
Goodness.
Good news is the kids weathered that storm. Throughout the whole game, we didn't trail the entire time. So we were tied a handful of times. Obviously when the game starts, fourth quarter we trailed for, not trailed, but tied for a little bit back and forth, but eventually we just kind of stretched it out. End of the game, we were up 4 or 5, and we want to make sure that we're not fouling guys, shooting threes, and getting 4-point plays on us to tighten the game. So we just kind of backed off defensively and ended up. We're lucky enough to get out of there. It's a tough place to play. Big rivalry between Jordan and Gardendale, and place was full of people on either side. It was a fun basketball experience for our high school kids.
Yeah, and bit of rivalry there, isn't it?
Yes, sir. And for the season, we won both games against them. We beat them here by 10 or 12, I think, and that was another game where we got up fairly big. I think we were up 23 at one point, and they come firing back again in the fourth quarter and cut it to 6 or 8, and then we end up kind of stretching it out there at the end too.
Gotcha.
So we're lucky to win the rivalry games.
Good. Well, speaking of tough, last night you played a very tough Coleman team. They're doing particularly well this year. You lost that one by 32 points. Tell us about that one. That had to have been difficult.
Yeah, really slow start, and it's not that we forced anything offensively. First quarter, I think when it ended, we were down 18-8, but it could have been tied as far as we were concerned. We had wide open shots that we just missed.
Wow.
And so, a couple of those go down. You're looking at a much closer game as you get into the second, maybe a different outcome, or at least a closer outcome. But, we play to win. We don't play to be close to somebody. But that's just, at this point, that's a superior program in the state. Right. It's probably the top 2. Maybe 3 teams in 6A, and we'll certainly compete with everybody out of that regional to go to Birmingham for the Final Four.
Right.
And Coach Stu does a fantastic job with those guys. His staff does a great job with them, and those kids have been with him since I guess 4 or 5 years now.
Wow.
So it's it's a little bittersweet for me. I spent 4 years there and coaching those kids and being with that staff too, and so saw a lot of friends and people whenever I went back, and they'll come to our place next Tuesday.
Okay.
Or sorry, next Friday.
Okay, gotcha. So tomorrow you play Albertville. Tell us about that game. How you expect to, or what you expect to see from them?
Well, a lot of our schedule from this point forward, once we came over and passed over the first of the year, a lot of these teams are very similar in the type of style that they play.
Right.
Full court man. We'll expect some more of that whenever we go to Albertville tomorrow. The threat of weather, we're moving the game time up just a little bit to make sure we can get there, get our games in, and get the kids back home safely.
Right. Yeah.
Pretty much everybody's canceling school on Friday, so we're just hoping that the weather forecast doesn't turn to bring the weather into play sooner than it's already forecasted, so we make sure we can get that game in.
Well, luckily you don't have a game on Friday.
Yes, sir.
The next game is Tuesday. You play Jasper. You take them on. How will you game plan against the Vikings?
Well, very similar. They've got Miller Moody, a big that really is really, his footwork's fantastic for a big kid in the middle, and he works left side, right side. He can pop out and hit the 15-footer, and they'll let him shoot the three too if you don't get close enough to him. He's really a game changer as far as high school basketball. You don't see a lot of bigs back to the basket, post players.
Right.
And he's certainly one of them. He's done a great job of becoming a great basketball player from the time that he's gotten there. So the Steiner kid is fantastic on the perimeter. He can shoot it. He can drive it. He's athletic. He can jump all over the place. They've got a left-handed three-point shooter, Keegan Keaton, that is ninth grader.
Goodness.
He shoots the mess out of it too.
Golly.
And Coach Burns is always going to have kids that are unselfish, that'll drive to the basket and draw two people and throw to the open man. So it'll be a similar type style of play that we saw last night at Coleman.
Okay. All right. Very good. Well, you got your hands full.
Yes, sir.
The next few days. And in addition to the snowstorm, if it's going to happen, we don't know. But that's our show. We appreciate your time, and we certainly appreciate yours. Join us again next week for another version of Coach Speak.